Good morning. My name is Karen Kong, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and welcome to my This or That Thursday. Today is pouring rain outside here in Ottawa, and to me, that is the perfect time to be inside and crafting. And I hope that people will be joining me live because it's always more fun to craft together and have a conversation while we're doing it. Have me answer questions while I'm making my card and just have some company. So today we are making this card. It's a fun fold. If you can see that it just folds flat for mailing. It's pretty simple and not hard to make. So that's what we're making today. If you're joining in for the first time, please say hi. Please tell me where you're watching from, or if you're watching on the replay, I'd love to hear from you. So let me just get set up on my computer so that I can see your comments while we are crafting, and we'll get going soon. All right, so my computer's set up. Let me just move the camera over to my desk. So just close your eyes while I'm setting that up, okay? So I'm bringing back the Taco Fiesta card for the stamp set for this card, and I'm going to be working a lot with my stash for a while. I don't have a lot of actually I don't have any of the new products from the new annual catalog. Nothing really caught my eye so far, so we are working with the stash, which is great because I know everybody has lots. So here's our card. It's 4.25 by 4.25 by 4.25, so it will fit into a regular envelope. You just need to press it shut, press it flat, and it will fit right in there. Good morning. Hi, Janet. Thank you for joining me. Where are you watching from? So yeah, this is gonna fold flat and fit into your regular sized envelope. So here's what we used today. We're going to be using the Taco Fiesta. I also got the Rays of Light just recently, which is new to me. I know it's been out there for ages and I think it's retired now. These are the mini alphabet dies and the layering circles, which I think you can probably use a circle punch to mimic, because I didn't use the scalloped edges. I just used the regular layering circles. And we'll be doing some coloring, of course, and fussy cutting. All right, so let me just move things out of the way and make some room. And we'll get started by cutting our card base and all the pieces of paper that we need. So I'm using a combination of, let's see, this is actually Sweet Sorbet. It is really close to Poppy Parade. So I don't have Sweet Sorbet markers, but the Poppy Parade is so close that I use those for coloring in, and you really can't tell the difference. I think it looks great together. And they're not actually side by side. If you look, like this is strawberry sorbet. Strawberry sorbet. Is that right? Sweet sorbet. Sorry, the new in color is strawberry slush, but this is sweet sorbet. And then here's like the coloring that I did in Poppy Parade, which I mean they're side by side right here, but you really can't tell the difference. It's not too obvious, so you can go ahead and use that. Okay, what else are we using? We've got white for a lot of the stamping and coloring and the mats. So let's get started on cutting. I actually have this piece left over from last time. Wow, Janet, you're joining from Perth. Amazing. I actually have cousins in Perth. It's on my bucket list to make a visit there one day. So this is left over from the cardstock that I used for the original card. It is 4.25 by 11, so exactly half a sheet, just cut down the middle. And I'm gonna score it first before I put it aside. So there's a bunch of score marks. Don't be intimidated. It's just a bit of scoring. And let me just bring up those measurements. Don't worry about writing anything down. I will post the measurements and the score marks, all of it in the video description when I'm done. So just watch and enjoy. So good morning, Sandra. Thanks for joining in. I'm going to start scoring from the right side at a 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and 1.5 inch. So I'm going to use the score marks here since they are so handy on the right side. So a 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and 1.5. Okay, which I believe is right up against the side there. Oops, I think I went past that. Okay, then I'm going to turn it around because I need to do 5 3/4 over here. I'm going to need to extend that arm. Let's bring out the arm here, and the next one is 6 1/4. Which is right in the bend here. Hi, Shali. Thanks for joining in. Oh, Tara's here too. Wow, I have my whole team here this morning. I have a very small team. 6 3/4, but it is it's great because we all know each other well. 6 3/4. Okay, so now this is all scored. I'm going to put this aside. And I'm going to cut the mat that goes on the front, okay? So this is just white, and I'm going to cut that out. Actually, you know what? I think I have a piece left over that's already cut out. Oh, no, this is the back. Sorry, I didn't show you that. This is the back for my card. So I'm going to actually put the writing for this card on the back, and I just added the little avocado with the hat there. Okay, so that's the back of that card. So I do need a piece of 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 to fit on the front. So let's just trim this down. 4 1/4, 4 1/4. Okay, so let's put that aside. And what else do I have to cut? I think that is it for now. I'm going to stamp next. Okay, so I'm going to bring in my stamparatus. I haven't brought it in for a while yet, but I find it's really useful for the really big stamps because I inevitably don't press all of the sections down, and I want to do it again. So actually I had set this up for stamping the sentiment. We'll do that later. I'll show you how I did it with the stamparatus. I'm going to put that aside. And let's get my 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 out here. I'm just going to stick it in the middle, and we will line up our stamp with that. Actually, I'm not going to be able to use these magnets because the stamp is so big. So we'll just use it to hold it down while I'm setting up my stamp. And I'm just going to stick this underneath. Actually, you know what? Okay, so I've set up my plates already to for my sentiments, but we'll use the back side. That's the beauty of these, is that I can turn it over and I can use the back side. All right, so I want the hole, or the center of this, the rays of light circle, to be somewhere around here. So I'm just going to turn it over, and it's going to be something like this. And it doesn't have to be straight. Nobody's going to know. I don't think you can tell if it's not straight or not. So that's what we're going to put it. I have to get these magnets out of the way now because they will prevent me from stamping the entire piece. So I'm just going to line it up here. Okay. And I'm just going to take a pen, actually, just so I don't have to think about it so much. I'm just going to mark it on my paper that's where the corner I lined it up with, in case I have to line it up again to stamp again. Okay, so I'm using the grid marks, the grid lines, to help me line up my piece of paper, and so that I can do it again if I need to. Okay, so I'm going to take Daffodil Delight. Oh, Janet, thank you. I'm glad you're able to catch me live today. It's nice to have company and to have somebody who enjoys what I'm doing. It's always nice. Okay, so I'm just going to pat my stamp, my ink, across the stamp. I think this black ink pad is actually a different height. Just let me grab a different one. I find the Stampin' Up! Ink pads are just the right height to make this plate lie flat while I'm inking it up. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so I'm inking the whole thing. All right, let's give this a shot. Oh, Tara's suggesting to use tape on the underside of here. Yes, I could do that. Yeah, I should do that. And Sandra's suggesting I could use a larger piece of paper and then cut it down. Yes, I could do that too. I thought about that, and I think I'm choosing the slightly lazier option because I don't want to have to trim it down, but that is absolutely a good idea. And that would give you options as to where you're going to place like this little circle. But I've already done it once, and I'm just gonna stick with it now. But those are great suggestions. Oh, you know what, okay, this is reality crafting at its finest. I just realized this is a red cling stamp, and I don't need the black pad underneath. So I'm gonna move that out of the way. And let's line this up again. Okay, there we go. You know what though? I think I should just use a piece of tape. Yeah, I know. You're right. You are absolutely right. Okay, so I'm just going to use a tiny bit of tape there. It's just a little smidgen. And let's get this stuck down. This is reality crafting, so you know, if something wrong is gonna go wrong, it's, you know, quite likely to happen. Okay, I think that'll stay. Let's give it a shot. All right, so you know what, this has been a few seconds, and I'm just gonna give it a fresh layer of ink just so that I know I'm gonna get coverage. All right, let's press this down. Let's go. Oh, that turned out pretty good, actually. I think that's good. All right, I'm just gonna rub off that little piece of tape as best as I can. I have my adhesive remover. Let's get that out, actually. All right. I'm going to close up my ink pad and clean off the stamp so I don't end up inking myself accidentally. All right. Let's get this off and we will put it away. Okay. I'm going to set that aside. Let me grab the card base and we are going to glue it onto the front. Okay, so I'm going to turn it this way. I don't know if you can tell. but all my score marks are over here on the left side and in the middle. And this section here was going to be my front of the card, okay? So I didn't quite get to the bottom of the, I think that's one disadvantage, is that I didn't quite make it to the bottom of my mat. What do you say? Should I restamp that? I just realized that. You know what I could do is I could also cut off a sliver. Yeah, maybe that's what I'll do. I'm going to cheat. Okay, this is like... Actually, is asking about the adhesive remover. It's just like a piece of like rubber. It's from the dollar store, and it just rubs off the, yeah, adhesive eraser, sorry. It just kind of rubs the adhesive together, so you can just kind of pick it off. Okay, so yeah, you know what I'm going to do is I could cheat, and I could just trim off this edge instead. So I'm going to glue this down. And I know I'm going to be cutting a circle right here. So I'm going to be careful not to cover the entire back, because I'm not going to, I think that I don't want the wet glue to get stuck in on my dies or whatever when I cut, right? So let's do this. Okay. So I'm putting it around the edges, and I know I'm going to be cutting a circle somewhere around here. So I'm just going to put a little bit more here, and maybe just in the center, because I want that to stick to the reds, the sweet sorbet cardstock underneath. Okay, I'm just checking to see that I've got coverage behind the circle. I'm not telling you have to go to the dollar store. Sandra was actually the one who got it for me, so I have her to thank. There you go. Okay, so I'm lining up the top and the right, and I know I'm going to trim this. This is actually a little bit long anyways, so let's trim it down to size. There's no rule that says that it has to be 4 1/4, so it will be fine. All right. So let me grab my paper trimmer. Yep, Sandra, that was a long time ago that we that you picked that up for me, and who knows, with dollar stores, their stock changes all the time. So I'm just going to line this up so that I trim off this extra piece here, and I can, and the extra piece of sweet sorbet too. All right. So this is just a small adjustment, and now it looks perfect. Okay. So if you know me, I noticed this little detail. This is not a big deal, but I like to take my my bone folder and I just press on the edge afterwards, the cut edge, because there is a little lip that you get when you trim the paper, and it just makes it look more finished. And it's just a small thing, but that's what I like to do. All right. So now that this is glued on, I can cut out my circle here. So I'm going to take the circle die, and this is the second largest one if you are using this particular set, and I'm going to put it through my emboss machine. Okay, so let's move this out of the way, bring in the cut and emboss machine. Okay, so I'm going to put it closer to the bottom because I want room to put my my words at the top and my little cactus guy. But there has to be enough room around here to glue on all of these little characters. Okay. right, let's put this through. Now you're not going to throw that piece away because we're going to use it for decorating. All right, there we go. So that I'm going to put aside, and now we have to cut out I have a little yellow Daffodil Delight circle here on which I put the letters Dad, and we'll need to cut out those letters. Okay, so let me grab some daffodil. Let's see if this little scrap here is good. I always keep all my scraps just for this. It's perfect. Okay, so I have that, and I need sweet sorbet. I have a scrap of sweet sorbet as well, so let's put this in. And I'm gonna grab the mini alphabet dies. So I'm just using a strip here because I don't need to cut out all the letters. I just want Dad, D-A-D, and I think I actually already have an A, so I really just need D. So I'm just gonna cut off a small piece of this. And put it over where D is, and we'll just trim that section out and use just that. Okay, that should be fine. All right, let's cut this out. Oops. Okay, let's put the circle aside, and I think that's all I need. Oh no, I need another D. Sorry, I need 2 D's. I'm just gonna scrape these off. And we'll get another small piece of sweet sorbet again. It's kind of a fun lettering style. I have the playful alphabet dies too, but this is more of a casual style, and I think it works well with the Taco Fiesta. All right, I'm looking for my top plate. There we go. Yeah, Tara, I wouldn't cut the entire piece of cardstock just to get one letter. It's just, that doesn't seem to make sense to me. So I just cut out, I mean, like, you have to just kind of guess where that piece, I mean, but you just cut it bigger so that it'll cover the letter that you're aiming for, and you won't waste so much paper. So I'm just going to push these out. All right, there's my D. And now I think we're done with the die cutting. Let's move this out of the way. Okay, so let me see what I have next. Okay, we're gonna do a little bit more stamping. I need to stamp my, okay, I'll tell you this now. I did go ahead and stamp and color a bunch of these, so you won't have to sit through me cutting all this out, fussy cutting and coloring everything, because that would take a little while. Um, Sandra is saying that she only remembers to use the adhesive sheets after she cuts. Yeah, you know what? These are fat letters. It's pretty easy to just add a few dots of glue, no problem. So I just need one more set of chips, and I believe the taco. So I have one taco already stamped and colored. I just need to put his face on, but I thought I would do the coloring for the other taco together, and I will stamp the chips. Okay, so let's get the black Memento ink. And I do like to give it some time to dry, because if you start coloring with the markers right after you've stamped, it could cause bleeding. So I'll show you what I mean. So I had done this one, and I think this can happen because you apply a lot of alcohol ink by coloring a lot. It could be because my black ink was not quite dry when I started coloring. So yeah, I just recommend that you leave time for it to dry first, and when you're coloring, not to go over the black lines too much. I try to go up to the black line and not over, and I have to be careful not to color too much, but I was trying to work in the shading. So it could have been multiple factors, but right now, what I'm going to do to help speed up the process of drying is I'm just going to use my heat gun to quickly dry it up just a little bit more. And I'm just going to turn this on, so hopefully this won't be too loud. All right. So like I said, I used Poppy Parade, Daffodil Delight, and Granny Apple Green to color everything in. You don't have to add shading. These markers are great for coloring because they don't leave those streaks that the water-based colors will leave. But the shading does add like something special to the look of your image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add dark Daffodil Delight along the edges here, and then I'll fill it in with the light. Okay. So you don't want to make like a straight line, I think, because what happens is that line somehow just doesn't blend as well. And it's also best to work with the markers, like the colored in area, I mean, when the ink is still fresh, because then you won't need to apply so much ink to work it in. Okay, because the alcohol ink will just kind of blend seamlessly when it's damp. I like to do the edges when I'm coloring it all in, and then I'll do the full image after. And you can add additional. You know what, Tara, you're asking if I prefer the brush or the tip for the coloring. So recently, I just found that I like the tip better, but you know, your preferences can change. And sometimes, like some tips, the brush tips, sometimes they aren't, like this one's a little bit soft, so I find it annoying kind of for doing coloring, but it's good for coloring large areas, right? But I like the brush tip for more precision. But I'm going to use the brush tip on this one just to kind of help blend this in a little bit more, I think. Give it. And hopefully I'm not adding too much ink because it will start to bleed, I believe. So you just kind of have to give it a shot, try it out. You can always do it again, right? There we go. Okay, so I'm going to add my red Poppy Parade for the tomato slices, which I think are the rounder pieces here. So I'm going to just color these in. Let's get the Granny Apple Green. I'm going to get the dark one. Okay, that's it for that taco, and then I'm going to do the chips in this color. So I'm just adding like a little bit darker colors in some of the corners. And let's after it dries, it can look slightly different. So if you have time to let the colors dry and then kind of reassess then. There we go. All right. So the last thing I'm going to do is add the little faces. And I'm going to add the little wink on the taco face. And this, use the little happy, sorry. Yeah, I want the wink. This is not the winky guy. And I just realized I don't need to put a face on the taco underneath because he's going to be hidden. Here we go. Okay. I think I'm going to use this one on top. Like how this guy turned out better. There we go. All right, fussy cutting is next. I know, Sandra, this is your favorite part. So I'm just going to cut out this piece and just work with this section. I find it's easier to fussy cut when I don't have like a big piece of paper to work with. And I'm turning the paper and not so much the scissors as I cut. But these shapes aren't too hard. Like the Taco Fiesta card stamped, I mean, the shapes are fairly easy to fussy cut. Okay, so there's my chips. I'll bring over my little bowl here. And let's cut out my taco. Again, I'm just going to cut that off. Okay, Shali and Sandra, what are your thoughts on fussy cutting? Because I know Sandra does not love it. Janet, do you have any opinion on fussy cutting? I didn't love it before, but I actually don't mind it so much anymore. Because there's so many DSPs that have wonderful images in them, and I like being able to use all of them, even though I don't have dies for everything. There we go. All right, there's one taco. I'm seeing your comments pop up, and I'm in the corner of my eye, and I can't read them all. Shali says she's not a fan, but she's appreciating it more, and Tara says she's not great with scissors. Yeah, you know what? It doesn't have to be rushed. I did a bunch of fussy cutting in front of the TV once, like obviously not a show that required me to watch the screen a lot, but it's kind of relaxing to do when you can listen to an audiobook or something. But it does take time, and that's why I colored and cut a bunch of the images ahead of time so that we wouldn't have to spend the entire live watching me fussy cut images. And you can do so much more with your card when you have these images cut out, right? You can layer them and place them in different spots. Yes, absolutely. Sandra is right. Oh, you have, sorry, I'm like a squirrel. My attention got diverted by different comments. So yes, Sandra, you are right. You absolutely have to have a short pair of scissors that will work for fussy cutting. And Janet's saying she's not good at fussy cutting. Oh no. And then she manages to cut something important off and have to start again. Oops. Yeah, it just takes a little bit of practice. Shali says, is that what you were watching when, what I was doing when I was watching the Leafs lose? Ha! I actually didn't follow the Leafs as closely as I did the Ottawa team, but yes, we did watch some of that. Okay, back to stamping. I still have to stamp the sentiment. That was the other thing I need to do. So let's move this out of the way. And bring back my Stamparatus, and I'll show you what I did. So to get the words "You're Spectacular," you'll notice that there is no "You're Spectacular" in this set, but there is a "you're" in this one sentiment, and "spectacular" is all on its own. So what I did was I stamped "you're" only, and then I stamped "spectacular" over top, on top. Oh, Sandra, you cut out before you color. Okay. I just find it challenging to color when it's a tiny little taco or a tiny little piece and they move around. So, but to each his own. Whatever works for you. Okay, so I'm going to turn this plate around so that my stamp is facing the right way now. Okay, so I set up my two plates so that I knew that because I knew if I wanted to reproduce this sentiment that I didn't want to have to reset up this setup. So, man, I am like, my words are failing me today. Actually, every time I come live, I think I don't have enough time to have my coffee hit. Okay, and I just cannot speak. Something about being on live that takes away your cognitive ability somehow. Okay, so let me get a piece of white. Here's my white. And I know I lined it up, so I know I used my grid and I lined it up here. And I'm going to grab my magnets. So I'm just going to show you. So oh, okay. I need my matte back because these are photopolymer stamps and they don't have the same padding as the red cling stamps. So I need the black matte underneath for it to stamp properly. Okay. Fair enough, Sandra. I see your last comment about, yeah, it depends on what image it is and how much coloring there is, perhaps. Okay, so I did this over I made a few attempts at this to set up my stamps correctly because I needed to line up your spectacular to look right together. So that's what I'm going to do now, is that I'm just going to go ahead and stamp it. But instead of, I was using my ink pad and just trying to ink up just the ewer and then maybe wiping away some of this, but then I found that the moisture that I left behind here was leaving like little gray marks. So what I decided to do instead is I have a black Stampin' Right, I guess these are Stampin' Right markers. This is the only color I have, and this specifically for this. I'm going to use this to color my stamp, okay? You can't do this with your alcohol markers. The alcohol will stain your stamps, and I don't think it works. I think the alcohol dries too quickly, so you need to use the water-based one. So I'm just going to use my marker to color the just the section that I want. Okay, and I'll probably have to stamp this twice because I find that the marker ink for some reason doesn't, I don't know, it's just not as dark, or maybe it's just not sitting the same way on the stamp. So there, I have just colored in the word your. Let's stamp that. Okay, so it's a little bit light. I'm going to try that again. Okay, my paper did move. I thought it did. No worries. I'm just going to turn it around. We'll try this again. I should have paid attention. I knew that this looked like it had moved, but wasn't sure. Okay, so that's lined up again. All right. Okay, very slightly. Somehow it's just sticking just a little bit. I didn't have this problem last time, but like I said, reality crafting, live crafting, Murphy's Law, what can go wrong will go wrong, right? And that's what terrified me about lives, because I could never predict if everything was going to go right, but I decided I would just accept it and try to work with it. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. The bottom of the R is kind of missing, and that's the beauty of using the Stamparatus. You can redo this. There. All right. Yeah, you can also use tape to block off the sections that you don't want to ink up. That is definitely an option. There's different ways to achieve that, and this is the way I'm choosing to do this time. And you can do different colors. That's the other thing, is that if you have a full set of like Stampin' Write markers, you could use different colors for different words. Okay, so let me just clean this off before I ink myself. And now I'll use the top panel to put on Spectacular. There we go. So now that is done, I'm going to pull this out and we'll trim it down to size. And this is one of the things that I love about the Stamparatus, the paper trimmer, is that I can trim down such skinny pieces because they have the guides at the top right at the cutting point. So I find this one's a little bit fat. I want it to be a little bit skinnier. Oops, that's my scoring blade. So I'm going to trim this down. I'm just kind of eyeballing how much white space there is around my words, and then I'm just going to trim this down. Okay, so this end I'm going to trim down as well first. So this is going to be the Father's Day card for my husband, and I made it sitting right next to him because he doesn't pay attention to what I'm making most of the time. So hopefully he didn't really notice. There we go. There's my sentiment. All right, let's put this aside. Okay, folks, it's allergy season, and I'm sorry, but I have to go blow my nose, so if you'll just excuse me for like 10 seconds. Sorry about that. I am back. All right. So let's get to assembly. All right, so I have this piece which I'm going to put my tacos on, and I have my little circle here where I'm going to put the letters Dad. So let's get all my pieces out. And my trusty tweezers, because it helps me get my fingers out of the way. So this is going to be here. I'm going to use it to cover up the circle mostly, so that it won't really matter how it lines up inside my card. Okay, but I don't think you can really tell. See, this one I did my best to line up, but I don't think it, so you can tell there it didn't line up, but really it doesn't matter because that's not how it's going to stand for display anyways. But I'm just going to generally kind of try to line it up so that the width of the rays are approximately correct. I think this way. Something like that. I think that's close. Okay. So I'm going to try and center this like this. This one wasn't exactly centered. It's just a little bit lower, but I wanted to have room to have that guy there anyways. So something like this. And it doesn't have to be straight or anything. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue. And we'll put these on here. Okay, let me show you how the folding works. So this is going to fold back. Let me get my bone folder so I can burnish the fold. So it's just back and forth. It's I don't know if you call it like a Z fold. Right, so then it just looks like that. And you're going to do the same thing on this side. This is going to fold in. Fold back. Like that. Okay. Alright, so now I just need a strip of glue. I am seeing an error message on the screen saying that it is waiting for a live video signal. Looks like it's back. All right, so I'm just going to put some glue here. I had initially put a strip of tear and tape here, but I actually recommend using glue because it gives you a little bit of wiggle room, because I'm going to adjust it for when it folds down, right? Because when it initially attaches, it's lifted up. But then when it folds down, it shifts slightly. So I'm using glue this time around to line up the edges, and then I will press it down so that it will be flat for folding. There we go. Okay, so that's one other thing I forgot to tell you, is that you got to be careful. Depending on where you put your circle and what you do with the outside of your circle, you can't cut it too close here because the folded edge underneath will show through. But it's okay for our card because I'm going to be covering it up with chips. So no problem. All right, see you later, Tara. Thanks for joining us. Okay, we're going to put the letters Dad on our circle. So let me just get these letters out. Okay, this is the back side. And I just put tiny little dots of glue. That's all you really need. You don't need tons of glue. It's not hard to do. So I'm leaving a little bit room at the bottom because that's where the head of my cactus guy is going to go. Okay, just so you know, I created little stripes on my cactus guy, and all I did was I colored the whole thing in the light granny apple green, and then I used the dark to just make little striations. And let's put a hat on him. So actually I'm going to put the glue here because the hat is bigger than his head, so I'm just going to put a couple of dots of glue along the top of his head to hold his hat. There we go. Okay, so let's assemble. I'm going to put this into the corner on an angle, and I'm going to use glue again. And then for this guy, I'm actually going to put, because he hangs off of the edge, I'm going to put, and he's on top of a layer of cardstock. So you don't have to do this. It's not a huge detail. I just try to make the paper lie a little bit flatter by putting a glue dot underneath here instead of glue, because the glue dot will just give it a tiny bit of extra height and help it to lie flat on the card. Okay, so I know he's going to be lying here, so I'm going to put a glue dot right here on the edge. Okay, there's a glue dot there. I know you probably can't see it, but there's a glue dot right here. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue here to adhere his hat. Actually, I can just put that on the back of his hat, and that'll be easier. Okay, and I think I also put a glue dot underneath his arm right there, just on the one side. Okay, so that is his, I'm just trying to think which side. I'm not going to bother putting one on there. Left arm. Okay. There we go. All right. So now let's just get him on here. And that way I don't have any adhesive stuck to the back side of him, and he won't stick to the inside of the card. And I'm going to use glue to adhere. Oh, you know what? That's another mistake I made. I should have put this guy in first. Okay, before I even shut it. I think I would recommend that if you can do it before you shut it, that would be ideal. See, reality crafting. I had it written in my instructions to adhere this in before I shut the card, like closed this up, and I forgot. Okay, so I'm just going to use the this as guidance, but I'm going to, what I'll do is I'll put glue on the back here. And I'm not going to go right to the edge, because if I have to shift it around a bit, that way the glue is not going to show, even if I move it around. I have some play in where I place it. I'm going to use my tweezers. Okay, let's put this like this. And I'm pressing it slightly so I can kind of figure out where it's going to be placed so that it will be visible when you let the card pop up. Okay. So I think I want him more on an angle, just to be, not to be straight, to be a little bit more angled, because it's a fun card. Oh, I guess that glue is already setting. I'm gonna have to lift it up a little bit with my fingers. The tweezers are not strong enough. Okay, now I can twist it a little bit. There we go. Yeah. So like I said, I'm not too worried about lining up the rays of light. It would have been nice if they lined up, but really, it's close enough. There we go. All right, so now I'm just going to adhere my chips all along the border. So this is like that. So you just kind of, see, it's going to be like this. I'm actually going to place my little bowl of guacamole first, and I'll slide that in afterwards. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the right side here, because I know that side will be on the paper. And I want to make sure I have enough room for my sentiment here. Okay, so it's still wet. I can still adjust it. I think that'll be just fine right there. So I'm going to leave it. Actually, I'm going to push it over a little bit more. There we go. Okay, and let's put in some chips. So I'm going to have these chips fall like this. So just be careful not to put glue on the inside edge where it's going to be overhanging the center of the card. Okay, so before it dries, I'm just going to slide this underneath. And get another set of chips, and we will put them on top here. So I'm just kind of keeping track in my mind where I can put glue and what parts are hanging over the side of the center of the card. Okay, one more set of chips down here. Actually, the adhesive remover will work on the glue if you let it dry a bit. Obviously when it's wet, it's just going to smear it, but if you let it dry, it will actually be tacky enough that you can actually rub it off. I've done it before. But it can smear, so if it is wet, you have to leave it for a bit. I'm just trying to remember how much of this. I think probably here is safe to put a dot of glue. I think I put this like this. And I've got my red pepper here. Actually, this was a little further out, so I'm going to pull this out a little bit. That's the beauty of glue, is that it's still wet, so I can still adjust. And it's okay if your chips overhang on the right and left side, because because in a standard envelope you will have extra room, right? But on the bottom you don't have as much room, so I'm trying not to let it overhang too much. Okay, and just some glue on the bottom of my pepper. Okay, and then this has to be on top of here. So I'm just going to put glue right on the right side. Okay. All right. And that is today's card. So like I said, you can press it flat for folding, for mailing, and then it pops up. It stands up on its own for display. And then you can add something to the back for your sentiments and your like birthday wishes, whatever you want to write, and then glue that on and add some extra images to that. So that's what I did there. So pretty easy. Probably the coloring and the fussy cutting are the longest, and everything else was pretty straightforward. So I hope that this inspires you. You'll try it at home. You can do this with any stamp set, of course, right? You could do another different kind of scene. Oh, and of course, I never get phone calls on my cell phone. Only when I am live. Yeah, so I had seen something similar done with a what do you call it? It's like a sunset scene. So they put their like it was a horizon of water and then a sunset, so they put that in the middle, and they put clouds on the outside. So you can create different kind of scenery with this, but I had fun with this with the taco set to make my Father's Day card this time. So have fun with that. Try it out. Play with your stash. And I hope you have a great week. And I hope I'll see you next week. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. Have a great day. Bye.